Good afternoon, class. I've gathered you all here today to discuss a very important topic, my favorite game, hockey. And after I give a lecture about it, I'm sure it'll be your favorite sport too. Let's start with the origin of the game. Hockey was created in the 1870s by the Canadians as an outlet to fight and drink, because there was a lot of crime and no way to outlet it in Canada. The goal of the game is to score goals. See what I did there? You put a black rubberized puck into a net with a wooden stick. Seems easy, right? It's not. First, the game starts with a face-off. The players line up, have the puck dropped, and then fight with their sticks for it to maintain control of the puck. The more you maintain control of the puck, the time possession you have, the more likely it is to score goals. There are 5 skaters on the ice. Not 4, not 6, 5. There's a goalie guarding each net, so that it's not that easy to score a goal. After the puck is dropped in the opening face-off, players jostle for control of the puck and to win the time possession battle. Usually, teams will commit penalties. A very popular one that you may know is fighting. Even though I may find fighting repulsive, many fans like it, but I digress. Following a fight, there's a 5-minute major penalty issued to the fighters involved. They go to the penalty box, or some like to call it.
You know what? I've had
Excuse
enough
me.
of this. This is not the way you lecture. This is the way you definitely lecture. There are a few reasons why lecture is the way we do things. First, lecture is easier and more efficient. Secondly, lecture is tradition. We've been doing it for years, and it's kind of what's expected by us. Lecture is also more organized. We can go through PowerPoint slides, we can read off a piece of paper, we can have notes, and we can get through a certain amount of topics in time. Also, lecture gives us a quicker preparation time for a presentation. For instance, it takes much less time to go on PowerPoint and set up a lecture than it does for us to actually prepare an interactive and fun presentation. A few more things is that lecture also provides the teacher or the instructor with control over the classroom. If I'm lecturing, I clearly have more control over what's going on in my classroom. Not only in classroom, but in a presentation in general. Lecture is also what's expected by the listeners. We've done it for a long time, and people continue to do it as time goes on. Lecture also overall saves time, where the instructor can give their point of view or what they have to say over a short period of time with a lot of information and cover as many topics as possible.
Alright, well, thank you for that outburst. As I was continuing, once a player is sent to the penalty box after fighting, they are remissed after 5 minutes. If a player commits a penalty on one team and not both players from separate teams, that means one team has a power play.
Okay, this is ridiculous. This is quite boring, and I think everyone watching this thinks it's quite boring. One thing you can do to increase listeners' interest in the presentation is something called Nudge Your Neighbor. Nudge Your Neighbor is literally nudging your neighbor and explaining to them what you think the most important thing they've learned in this lecture was so far.
Nudge your neighbor. Okay. So, one of the main facets of American hockey is the National Hockey League, or the NHL. There are 30 teams currently in the NHL, even though there's a lockout under the CBA system or the labor contract. Since we go to school in New Jersey, we have a local team called the New Jersey Devils, playing in the Atlantic Division, belongs to the New York Rangers, New York Islanders, Pittsburgh Penguins, and Philadelphia Flyers. There's 6 divisions in total, which means there's 2 conferences with 3 divisions in each. So the 30 teams in the NHL, most of the teams are Americanized, under the new rule of Gary Bettman, who wants to bring more hockey teams to America. There's about 7 total in Canada right now, which means 23 are in America. There's about 3 in our market too, which is the Devils, the Rangers, and the Islanders, which I stated before. You can kind of count the Flyers in there because it's the Philly market, but we don't have to think of them. So back to the game of hockey. On a power play, one team has 5 skaters, a normal number, and the other team has 4 skaters because one of their members was reduced to the penalty box for taking the penalty. Either 2 minutes, 5 minutes, or game misconduct. Once this team scores on the power play ends and it's back to 5-on-5. If the team doesn't score on the power play after 2 minutes, The other team who committed the penalty gets their skater back. So it's time to nudge your neighbor and find out what you thought was most interesting.
There are 30 teams.
I found most
Seven.
interesting that during a power play, one team has 5 people playing and one team has 4 people playing.
No, I think that I found that the most interesting the game started in Canada. I have it in most of the American teams now.
So we found out what's most interesting to everyone?
Yes.
Who would like to start?
I'll go first. There are 7 teams in Canada.
Very good.
During the power play, one team plays with 5 people and one team plays with 4 people.
Spot on.
Most teams are in America, even though the sport started in Canada.
That's correct.
There are 30 teams in total.
That there are. It's working. Following off of the NHL practices, there are also minor league affiliates. The American Hockey League has affiliates for all 30 NHL teams. The purpose of a minor league is to have players develop in talent and maturity in order to be called up to the major league level. There's also the ECHL.
This is also kind of boring, although we're slowly improving. Another tip that we can give our lecturer is called passing the buck. Take out $1 as the lecturer and ask a question and give it to the person who answers the question correctly. Then have that person pass the $1 to the next person that answers the question correctly. At the end of the lecture, the last person to answer a correct question gets to keep the $1.
That is a splendid suggestion, Peter. I'm going to start passing the buck. Does anyone know the name of the affiliate to the National Hockey League?
Is it the AHL?
It is. Look. Here's the next question. Does anyone remember what NHL team plays in New Jersey?
Is it the Devils?
It is the Devils. Gotta pass it. Does anyone remember how long a fighting penalty lasts? Daniel?
5 minutes.
5 minutes is correct. The last question I got. What is the opening process where the referee drops the puck to start the game?
A face-off.
Face off, and Jeanette keeps $1. Excellent job with pass the buck, guys. But you guys look kind of tired. Is everything okay? Good night's sleep, late night drinking. What's wrong?
Well, another thing that you can do to improve your lecture is to have your listeners or your students or whoever they are get up and do stretches. They could be small stretches, big stretches, but the fact that you're giving them a small break with their lecture really increases their attention span.
As a matter of fact, I could use a stretch too. How about we all do a little quick hand stretch? 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ah! Ready to go. Following the lockout of 2005, the NHL put more rules in place to promote offense. One of them was eliminating the 2-line pass. I'll draw a diagram for you. These 2 lines are the blue line. Now, before the lockout, you could pass the puck all the way down from each end. They eliminated that. So now you can only pass the puck 2 lines. Can't go here, you can't go this way. Another one they put in is eliminating the trapezoid behind the goalie net. Now before they put this rule in place, the goalie could roam freely behind the boards to clear the puck and handle the puck to create offense. Start passing the puck up like Devils goalie Martin Brodeur. But now, the NHL put these lines in place so where the goalie can't skate out here to clear the puck up the boards or handle it and pass it to a teammate. It's supposed to put more offense and create less stagnancy.
Another thing you can do to increase the listener's interest in your presentation is called Pass That Question. Take the question that you can think of and you know the answer to, write it down on an index card or a piece of paper, and then give it to the person next to you and see if they can also get it right. You can either pass the question around the room if it's a small room, or you can pass the question to the people around you and see if they get the answer right.
So I think it's time to pass that question. As of right now, our students have passed around the question. They're going to take a look at it. I'm going to ask them if they know the question at the end. There we are. All right. So the question is, what is the area in which the goalie can legally play the puck?
The
trapezoid.
They got it. Well, class, the presentation's coming to an end. Now, I'm kind of hesitating now because I'm just trying to think of the perfect way to conclude this presentation.
I have an idea. Something that we can do is called toss it around. Take a Nerf ball, something soft. In this case, I happen to have a Nerf football. Take it and toss it around, the instructor will, and he will ask the students or the listeners what they've learned, what they can take away from this presentation, or how it will help them in the future.
Another great suggestion to finish up this presentation. So Dan, I'm going to toss you the ball, and I want to know what you took from this presentation, how you think I can better as a professor. Ready?
I think you did a great job. And I'm going to go out and play some hockey now.
Well, with the help of my students, I learned how to give a not boring presentation. And I gotta tell you, it feels awesome to do it.
Thanks
for watching and happy holidays.